tell me about, and I quote,
Wow, why you gotta put it that way?
Is this an episode of Cops?
True events, and this is all real.
Or Live PD?
Welcome to the Hashtime Show, your weekly source for cyber news and info. This is episode number 10. On today's show, Dave, Chris, and Jeff discuss island hopping, VMware vulnerabilities, and talk about the time the SOC had a gun threat. Check us out online at hashtimeshow.com. And now, on to the show.
Oh, those are high-tech effects.
Hello and welcome to the Hashtime Show, your source for cyber news and info. This is episode number 10. Sitting across the table from me, I got Dave Norland and Jeff Marshall. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Vincent. Guys, we're in a new conference room. We're at a new time. We have a new production console.
We're double digits.
We're double digits on the podcast. This is.
Oh my!
I'm excited.
It's official.
Are you guys pumped? I can barely see you.
We've made
Jeff.
it.
I tried to make the mic not fall on you this week. No, you're good. No, you're okay.
Jeff has two eyes poking
You
above
just be Wilson, and I'll just kind of stare
filter.
at you.
It works.
So, guys, thanks for joining us again on the Hashtime Show. We're your weekly source for cyber news and info. I think I might have already said that, but I'll tell it to you again. And we cover news of the week, but today we have kind of a special segment. We have a Getting to Know You. It's one of our regular segments we do. Want to get to know Dave and Jeff mainly. But I just found out about an interesting incident here. You know, for those
Wow,
who...
why you gotta put it that way?
It's an interesting incident, interesting story. Let's put it that way. For those who don't know, we work here at Data Shield in Scottsdale, Arizona, and we have a security operations
I
center.
didn't know that.
I'm speaking to the listeners.
Okay.
Dave. We have
It's
a
in a
security
building.
operations center here. It's in a building. It's a walled off.
Yep.
It's a contained area.
Okay.
And let me just do this. So I'm going to ask you guys to tell me about.
It has a great view of Arby's, by the way.
Yes. I'm looking at Arby's.
Just for reference.
Arby's right now.
I got an AutoZone down there too.
This is some localized geo-targeted humor.
As Chris once said, that's some good pod.
That's some solid
That's
pod.
a solid pod. Sorry, we've been cooped up. We've been working way too hard now.
We're all wearing dress blue shirts today. Yeah.
Blue's a good color.
One of my pet peeves is on podcasts when guys talk about stuff that you can't see.
Yeah.
So strike that from record, listeners.
I think we should do it 10 times more now.
Keep doing it. Yeah. Stuff
Do you
they
see
can't-
this, Chris?
Stuff they can't relate to and they can't see. So I want to quote this. So
Yeah.
tell me about, and I quote, that time our SOC had a gun threat and was cleared by cops with assault rifles.
All right, so the bulk of the storytelling is going to fall to me. I want to preface that this is not a tale that was inspired by true events. This is all real. So
I love the seriousness.
Unsolved mysteries.
all right.
Is this an episode of Cops? Or,
yeah,
Live
actually,
PD?
it might have
Is it
been.
4:30?
This is on a body cam somewhere. Anyway, so we often work late here at Data Shield, doing the best we can, whatever we're tasked with doing. And one night we were working on a demo. And a demo, you know, it's something you need to choreograph and plan ahead of time. Oftentimes, engineering has to be involved, R&D has to be involved. It's kind of a meeting of the minds to make sure that everything's going to work when we go live. So I'm about to call it a night. It's literally at night now. It's, I think, about 8:15. We hear the cleaning ladies coming in, the cleaning crew, rather, because there's a gentleman with them. And we had just about decided to wrap up. I think someone closed their laptop, and we're watching the cleaning crew come in. They're doing their thing, and then there's a gentleman with a big vacuum cleaner on his back, and he comes in, and I kind of see him out of the corner of my eye. It looks like he wants in, so I just kind of wave him in. Whatever. I'm about ready to close up and be done. So I realized once I've motioned him in that was the wrong thing to do, because he's got a vacuum cleaner, and we're all still talking about something. And if he starts vacuuming, then we're not going to be able to hear anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of wave him away while maintaining my conversation. He looks at me
Like this, like for those, I'm just kind of waving and talking, looking the other direction.
Yeah, I was like, no, we're good, man, because I know he doesn't understand me. There were some linguistic challenges there.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll say that. So I think
Great, Dave. Great.
Well, he spoke Spanish and I spoke English. I don't know what you want me to say.
No, that's fair.
Okay.
I just love how coy you were about it.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
Continue. Yeah. So you're getting to the crux here, so I'm getting excited.
Right,
Don't leave me hanging.
Oh man, you look so excited, Chris. So he gets a little agitated about that, and it's clear that he really wants to vacuum this room. It's like, and I don't mean to make fun of his need to vacuum the room.
He wants to get his job done and get
He wants
out.
to get his job done, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what he's here for a reason. I'm like, no, man, we're good. There's nothing on the floor. So he eventually kind of gets the message, and he's disturbed about this, and not like a freaked out way. He's just mad. So he walks out, and we have kind of like an L-shaped office. So we're sitting where we're all looking out the window, and he goes out and speaks with another lady who's changing the trash can, taking out the trash, and he's pointing back at us, very agitated. And then she's like, okay, whatever. You know, I can't really understand what she's saying, but she kind of like,
Wait, what did she say?
Was it in Spanish as well, Dave?
okay, whatever. There's a soundbite for you.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. So, okay, whatever. And then he just goes on. He takes the cord and then he goes on. So, as soon as he's like out of sight, this lady comes over and she's like motioning to us. She, the universal. Okay, here's the thing that I'm going to do that no one can see, but it's the universal call somebody.
It's like the hang loose sign.
Hand, the devil horns, whatever you want to call it.
Hang loose, but telephone up
exactly.
to your head,
It's the phone up to your head, right? So she does that, and I look at it, and at this point, I've been here for 12 hours. I'm like really tired. I'm running on fumes. I don't fully recognize what she's saying, but I realize that she wants me to do something. She walks away, and I walk toward the door. And I open the door to the office because we closed the door behind the guy. And she makes the sign. Okay, another sign no one can see. But you've made finger guns, right? She does that, but like she holds it next to her body as if she's like imitating someone concealing a firearm. And
the plot thickens.
Yeah, the plot thickens. So I look at this, and now, again, this is where you start to get into like the surreal moment of the night where you're very tired, but you're observing something. You need to pay attention to it, and it's hard. And I'm like, I look at her and I just like shake my head and I don't understand. She says, I hear her mouth like call 911. I can just barely hear her. And then I'm even more confused. I'm like, call 911. What are you talking about? And
this is like an office building.
This is an office building, yeah.
Not a commercial. It's not a place where you'd see a B2C. It's all B2B basically.
Yeah, it's a very upscale office building. It's not the ghetto.
We don't even have a reception area per se that you can get in without a badge or a buzz in, right?
Yeah, they actually can't even get in without a badge that they have to be cleared for. So finally, she's like, "He's got a gun," and she just says it, and she says, "Call 911." And
what did you feel the minute she said that? Like, what came into your heart and soul? And
it
your
was
mind?
just like kind of casual disbelief. Like, nah, you're kidding. Like, that's not real. I don't know what you're saying to me right now. But then she kept saying it, and I'm like, and she kept making that motion like of the gun, like kind of down, like concealed by the pants, and so that's when I got really freaked out. I wouldn't say freaked out, but I was like, well, I guess now we have to do something because I see past her that this guy is in the SOC because they are able to vacuum in there with some of our analysts. So now I have like a very grave concern that's kind of coming over me as I see the situation develop. If the guy really has a gun and he's really agitated, then I should probably do something about this. So,
wow. You have a military background though, so it's not like you've never shot a gun before or never seen a gun.
Yeah, and I've gone shooting on my own. Yeah,
it's still scary. I'm not saying it's not scary.
It's scary, but it was like so late at night where you're like, oh well, I guess this is what we're gonna do now. We're gonna call 911 and then we're gonna walk out of here because like the danger wasn't immediate for me. I mean, the guy's on the other side of the glass in the SOC, but it was a little more real for the people I manage in the SOC because they're right next to him.
Yeah, and anything could happen in there.
Sure, yeah. So I didn't really have time to think about whether or not she was telling the truth. I looked over and my counterpart, Chase, a director on the other side of the building, has already got his phone out and is dialing. So it was kind of like a validation, or like I wasn't imagining this. So then the three of us in here, we started to walk out, and I figure, well, I better somehow tell the guy in the SOC that he needs to come with me. So I like motioned to him. I like kept waving at him and like pointing next to me, like, and he probably thought he was in trouble. But he finally like moseys out of the SOC and like, hey man, we're leaving. And he follows me, and then I kind of explained to him as we're walking out the door that, the cleaning lady said the guy's got a gun. So I guess this is what we're doing. We're leaving. So we're walking down the hall, and then Chase is on the phone. I say, let's take the stairs because if we go into the elevator, it's a giant metal box, we're going to lose signal. So in the stairs, we lose signal, which is the opposite of what I wanted to happen. I figured we'd at least keep signal in the stairs as he's on 911.
Hold on, back up.
Yeah.
In the stairs, you lost signal?
Pretty much.
Sorry, I don't know.
Yeah. Spooky, right?
It is spooky for real.
Well, I can tell you the local police department's very quick. So by the time Chase is redialing them as we're walking out the building, there are police cruisers coming from both directions down this like little...
Really? That fast?
Like business street that goes in between the buildings. And then the first thing I see is this guy piles out of the driver's side with his AR-15 in hand and...
big ups to the Scottsdale Police Department.
Thanks,
insane
guys.
Response time, and then so I'm still just kind of like taking in the situation.
So is the gun assailant? Is he still in the SOC at this
He's still
point?
in the SOC,
vacuuming.
Yeah.
Is there any of the analysts left in there?
No, everybody's out. It's just the
Okay.
cleaning ladies at that point. I mean, we got cameras in there. We could have very easily seen.
Are we sure he wasn't like a rogue agent spy who was going to drop some malware in our SOC?
Yeah, I'm sure. This guy. I'm confident. We have cameras in there.
I'm really crapping on the end of your story. Sorry. So
Yeah,
the guy
no,
jumps
it's
out the
good, it's
AR-15. Go ahead.
Yeah. And then he just like holds it up and points it at the door and he like sights it in. And as this other guy's speaking to me and we're just like trying to divulge the story, being very methodical in how we relay it. And and finally one of the guys is like, where's the office? And I have to think because now I'm looking at the building from a different direction. So I'm trying to like relay these directions. And finally I just told him 4th floor, turn right. And then so he and like 5 other guys, again, one's got like a riot shield with him and these, they've all got AR-15s. They all just go into the building. They like look around the 1st floor.
Were they wearing SWAT gear or police gear?
I wouldn't say any. None of them had helmets that I remember.
Helmets, yeah.
But they all had the vests and the rifles. And then they just disappear for like 20 minutes and we just keep getting questioned. And then we get taken back up to the 4th floor. They say, finally bring one of them up there. So I go up there and they're like, is this person? Is this that person? And I say, yep, that's him. Yep, that's her. And then they take me back down. And so we're just waiting for this to be decided. And then finally they say, okay, you're cleared to go back up. And we go back up and the guy's just bawling. He's just in tears, like completely distraught.
Wow.
And it dawns on me like, well, she lying to us as some kind of vindictive thing to get him in trouble. And they were like, yeah, he doesn't have a gun. Didn't present a threat, but it was clear his night was like completely ruined. And then they just got back in the elevator. The 3 of them, there were 2 cleaning ladies and 1 cleaning guy. And they just like went back down to one of the bottom floors and that was it. It was just very strange. And then,
did the Scottsdale PD come at you a little bit for maybe like misrepresenting?
No. They were very appreciative. They said that you did the right thing. Better to take that chance than or to do that thing and call rather than take a chance.
Well, to me, there's no way she could have, because she did the finger gun thing to you.
Yeah.
So the finger gun, it's one thing if she had said gun, in language, it was a language barrier.
Well, she told me he has a gun. Like it was pretty clear. As I was like trying to like stare at her and understand what she was saying,
yeah.
she did say he has a gun.
So she must have just ex-boyfriend something.
I don't know.
That? That's
it's
crazy.
very strange. Yeah, but
Jeff, what's your take on this?
Very strange. I do know the next day I came in and my office was trash. So I don't know if they tackled the guy in my office or like went in there looking and just kind of knocked everything off the edge of my desk or what. But there was stuff everywhere.
Really?
Yeah.
Like just wrecked it?
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a surreal thing. It's not something you expect, and it's better safe than sorry, like they said. But it's a pretty crazy situation.
As unfortunate as it was for the gentleman, there was a little bit of humor that came out of it, and I would like to read, if I may, a few text
yes,
messages
because I need
that were exchanged that night.
Because let me just, before you do that, at the end of that story, the movies have stories that end on a bang.
Yeah.
But most stories end like that.
I'm glad nothing ended that way.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
I don't want anyone to get hurt.
I'm glad too.
Yeah.
But at the end of that story, I need I need to have learned something,
Right.
learn more about myself, maybe become a better person.
Well, you're not going to learn anything or get any of that from this.
I didn't. So
Okay,
if I
good.
can't get that, I would at least like to get a couple laughs.
Right. Okay. So we've been working on this demo all night. fairly. It's not tense. I wouldn't say it's a tense situation.
We've been working on it for a while.
But everyone wants it to be done.
Yeah.
And my fearless leader keeps texting me all night. Hey, is this demo done? Not done yet.
Listeners,
not done yet. We're getting close. But then this other thing happened.
So for the listeners, this is Dave talking. Fearless leaders, Jeff.
Fearless leaders, Jeff.
Who's sitting
my outstanding boss
to the left
here,
of him,
present in the room. All right. Did you leave yet? No, I'm about to. And then a brief moment passes, and I say, and I realize this is very confusing. I say, well, the cleaning dude has a gun. That's a loaded statement. That's probably not something you want to end on when you send a text.
So just real quick. We have a group text here, and I'm sure we all text.
Yeah.
And it's usually, most of our texts have a laying of humor on them.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So just for the listeners out there, this is not maybe it's typical or not, but this is Jeff and Dave text back and forth, and there's jokes. Jokes
always bad humor.
Jokes will be had.
Yeah.
So this is that I could see where Jeff might take that as a joke or a facetious statement.
I don't see how that could happen in this context.
Continue, Dave.
Yeah, but maybe.
Continue. We'll add some context to it.
So next from Jeff, WTF? Really?
OMG.
And I say, yeah, apparently. And I didn't really get into it because we're evacuating, so I didn't have time to text.
You lost signal.
So let me preface this with my mind frame at the time. This is Arizona. It's an open carry state.
Yeah.
I just said, oh, so the guy walked by and they saw that he's carrying a gun, and one of the guys here that are not so hot on guns made a comment and said, "Oh my God, the guy's got a gun."
Sure.
That's my mind frame at this point.
Okay.
Well, that's the most logical explanation. What's it? Not Murphy's Law. That other law. The most common explanation is usually the one that it is.
Oh, I'd say Occam's razor, but I'm probably wrong.
It's probably Occam's razor. Usually you're right.
All right, keep going, Dave, because it gets worse.
Okay. So next thing I said, yeah, apparently the guy's got a gun. Question from Jeff. Does the demo look good?
Again, I did not realize that it was like an issue. So I'm like, great, guy has a gun. Where's my damn demo?
I say, we'll get back to it. And at this point, I'm outside and we're being spoken to by the police, all that. Jeff says, I don't know if I have I don't know if I question that or not. It's Arizona, but we have a no weapons policy. Right. It's not supposed to have weapons in the building. Cleaning lady just ran over to us telling us to call 911 because the cleaning guy has a gun and he's apparently very agitated, and he was. Okay, now the situation's a little more serious from Jeff. WTF, and then 3 question marks. Did you call 911? And I say, yes, Chase is on the phone. Holy cow, this day keeps getting better, from Jeff. And it was at that point. I don't know how much higher we could have gone in terms of bad days because this day was going on forever and ever and ever. To which I said, a little charged up, something to the effect of Data Shield Adventure Time up in here with some added color around there, to express my sentiment at the moment.
Right.
So next question. So
or just so.
Where's my damn demo?
Does the demo look good? Are we good?
Yeah, where is the damn demo, Dave? Jesus.
And then next, so we're multitasking now. Next text, I would call security too. Because police can't get in, I don't think. Correct. We had to give them our badge. But good multitasking skills, worrying about the demo.
The police
also,
have some magical HID badge that gets into every
also
RFID
call
reader in the
security.
world.
So we're handling both of these situations at the same time. That's why he's a great boss. Hang on. There are like 18 cops with assault rifles here. I'm trying to drive home the point that there is a situation at Data Shield, Jeff, that may take precedence over the demo. I agree the demo is important, but also there are like 18 cops with assault rifles in the building. So finally, I think it sits in and he says, holy shnikes. I don't think
I'd ever say shnikes.
This is a kid-friendly podcast. And that's it. That's where it ends. But I do like the persistence about the demo. That really comes through to me when I review these texts. So,
at the end, I thought about saying, but is the demo done?
But did we win or not?
We did win. We did get the demo done. It was a resounding success.
And we do all feel very terrible for this guy.
Yeah. And really, I feel bad for him.
Was there any repercussions to the lady?
I asked the police officer, and he said no. There's not really a good way to prosecute.
Sure, hearsay.
Yeah, and despite us having video, because we do have cameras in here, lots of cameras, it's just not. It's not worth it. You know?
Right.
They came and went in 30 minutes. I don't think it detracted from anything that they were working on.
Do you know if they are still working here or they lost their jobs or anything?
I have no idea.
I don't know if it even got back to the building. We have not reported it yet. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, we didn't report it to the local building owner, so I don't really know what's going to go on.
I think that guy was probably scared enough, and that lady was probably scared enough.
Yeah.
So in the end, it turns out someone did learn their lesson.
Yeah.
Just
don't call my bluff. You told me to call the police.
just the one lesson that didn't get learned was get my demo done.
Yeah, the demo got done. Jeez. All right, so that's the story. Hope you got to
Craziness.
Got to know us a little bit better.
Just so everybody knows, it is always fun at Data Shield.
Yeah.
I did get to know you guys better, but I'm not surprised. That sounds like a conversation you guys would have given the circumstances.
Yeah.
Yeah. Business first. That demo done.
All right.
I almost texted him, well, do you have a gun?
Yeah. Do you have a gun? That one didn't work. That one didn't play.
No weapons building.
No weapons building.
No weapons.
It's true. All right. Let's jump on to the news, guys. Got some short stories for you this week, and I have a news segment coming up called the Breach of the Week. We'll get there in a second. Let's start off with the headline number one. Canadian intelligence agencies warn of election tampering. Got this from scmagazine.com.
Oh, no way.
Their mooses learned to hack. It's real bad.
I got into a Canadian hockey, or actually more just NHL hockey fight hole on YouTube the other day. Don't do that. Don't get into going at hockey fight holes. You'll be in there for a while.
A hockey hole.
Hockey hole.
I've been in one.
Yeah, they're bad. I mean, they're good, but they're bad that way.
Sounds wrong.
Here's the quote. The Canadian Communications Security Establishment, the CSE, is warning that nation's elected officials of attempts by foreign actors to influence the country's upcoming October 21st election, according to published reports. So, this is a very short article. What does this mean? Do you think they really have any threat intelligence on this about someone trying to tamper, or is this more of just a fluff piece? I mean, we've heard nothing basically in the news the last 2 years, but about Russian and their kind of tampering in our election. Is this just par for the course now? Every election in a democratic state's can have tampering? Is that where we're at?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the nature of the beast.
So is the tampering just social engineering at this point, or do we have actually changing vote counts? The voting's still manual. So like what, from a security standpoint, what would they be hacking into? Fill me in there.
That would actually be a great question for like a guest host. Chase has a lot of experience with state voting programs, and he might be able to speak to that. But from my perspective, I know there are a ton of different vulnerabilities with digital voting machines. I mean, sure, if something travels over the wire to go back to some sort of server or database that counts that information, then yeah, it's susceptible to some kind of attack.
Yeah, I mean, here's the reality. Most of those machines are probably Windows XP still as well, just like ATMs, and they're vulnerable to things, and yeah, it's still a manual count, but when you're going up and touching the screen, I mean, you could potentially do all kinds of different things. I think the key thing is whether it be hacktivists or real threats, it's going to be more prevalent, especially in countries, like you said, that have a real democratic or system that, can completely change based on who's elected.
Right. Yeah, it's, I think this is just par for the course going forward. Again, it's just a short article. I wasn't sure if you guys knew of anything specific, but I think this is just the way it's going to be. So, yeah, hopefully we can all vote on the internet at some point, right? But then that would really be a whole another can of worms.
Vote for me.
Chief Hacking Officer of the U.S. government. Yep. All right, on to headline number 2. 50% of cyber attacks now use island hopping. Here's the quote.
I've heard of bar hopping, but
I hadn't heard of this either, so I was hoping you guys could clue me in. But let me read. I modified a couple parts of this quote. I saw this through a news syndicator, but this was actually from Carbon Black's quarterly report, which is one of the vendors we integrate with from an EDR standpoint. So
wow, that was salesy.
the quote wasn't meant to be salesy. I was trying to put context around it.
Chris, you know about their pricing at all?
Well, let me explain that to you, Dave. With Carbon Black's, no, just kidding. Couldn't even intelligently talk to it. All right, so here's the quote. Island hopping is a cyber attack technique where criminals infiltrate smaller companies such as HR, marketing, or healthcare firms in order to access a larger target organization. According to Carbon Black's quarterly incident threat report, 50% of today's attacks use island hopping.
Yeah, so I mean, this has been a big thing that Dave and I have been concerned about and putting pretty heavy pressure on our internal security staff as well as our SOC is, as you go through this motions, more and more people are getting breached by a third party, right? A lot of people are putting effort in third-party risk and third-party risk assessments. You know, we have a big process around a whole bunch of things around risk assessments and security scorecard and a bunch of other platforms to assess the risk of a vendor, right? And especially as an MSSP, MDR vendor, that's just another gateway into important systems in your environment, right? So I think you're going to see these more and more. You know, I think if you look at, now granted the Target breach was local, but it was still a third-party vendor that was, you know, attrition to or put to. But, you know, as we go on through the years, everybody finds an easier route, and sometimes that's an easier route than trying to get through your defenses. Yeah,
I think the important thing to remember is that a lot of these organizations are going to have tons of data about their customers. So let's say you, for example, outsource HR, or you outsource some kind of service to an external organization. If that organization is ever breached, then all that data potentially is now able to be used for enumeration of the target. They can use that to craft some very complex social engineering or phishing email. I mean, people are trainable. They are used to what they see based on the emails they receive. They get into a rhythm of looking at certain things because they look familiar. They see patterns. And if you have some kind of perfectly crafted message that fits that pattern, then you're probably going to have a high likelihood of success. And I think that is probably the most common way that they're going to be island hopping themselves into a different organization, or they're just going to use the infrastructure. If it's a third-party vendor, then they use the existing rules and configurations of those systems to pivot to something else within the customer environment, so to speak.
So this is sort of, so I'm going to give a little shout out here. One of the best kind of IT security podcasts on the internet right now, in my opinion, it's Darknet Diaries. And I think his name's Justin. He's great. He does a really good job of telling stories about security and making it relatable. A lot of it's physical security and breaking into places, at least the ones I've listened to. But he did a show recently with a red team guy who got hired by a big organization. I mean, a large, Fortune 100 organization, to see how vulnerable they were from a physical and cyber standpoint. And he walks through the story. It's really good. If you guys get a chance, go to darknetdiaries.com and you'll see it. It's one of the more recent ones. Whenever you're listening to this, it's recent to July 2019. Anyways, he has a red team guy on there, young kid, you can tell, very brash, very aggressive, very smart. And the way that he got into this bigger multinational company was by going to one of these smaller owned subsidiaries and physically breaking in, looking through people's desks, finding a guy's badge that he had left there, which gained him access. And that was one of the key things he had done, amongst other stuff. There was just some sloppy stuff at this smaller company. He was able to steal trucks. He was able to get badges and screen print and drop all kinds of Raspberry Pi type devices on their network. And then
I would love to see if their contract covered him stealing a truck.
That they stole. It was crazy. He stole multiple trucks, and they put the clothes on, like the construction worker clothes, or whatever it was, and they went back during the day. So they went at night to prep, went back to the subsidiary during the day. It's like a multi-day operation. Prepped all that from the subsidiary, then went to the main headquarters, was able to break in. Eventually they got caught and they pulled their, because they were just going so hard. They had already just smashed these guys' security policies into the ground, and their contact, I guess, only the CISO or the CSO rather, and like one other person knew they were doing this. They just keep going as far as you can go, to the point where they were trying to go in during broad daylight and doing some really crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to me this would be a way, because the smaller companies just don't have much of a focus on it. Is that I mean, obviously that's a problem, right? I mean, everyone needs to have the same level of hygiene. Even if you're a Fortune 100 company, you should still have the same level of hygiene around your customer data, around your data.
I mean, it's
right?
not just that. If you have all vendors are going to need access on some level, usually to provide a service. And if those vendors are breached, then it's highly unlikely that all those connections to their customers are just going to suddenly vanish and evaporate. Like, there's no automatic rule that says, hey, if we're breached, shut down all operations for everybody that we've ever had contact with. Anybody that's going to open a VPN tunnel, I mean, that is not going to go away, because those companies still want to stay in business. So these connections between companies can just be used to pivot into other companies. It's just another type of, I wouldn't say lateral movement, but in a way it kind of is.
Yeah, I would say there's always somebody smart enough to get in. You know, you can't, I think this is the bigger picture, right? Having a good incident response program, a good BCP-DR plan, you're not always going to be able to detect them coming in. You may get them later. You know, you've got to be able to assess the situation quickly and be able to take action and remediation on what happened.
So there's a couple of specific examples in here I want to cover, because I found them interesting. You guys can probably provide some context. So he had not just island hopping, but network-based island hopping, which is a well-known variant where they're able to kind of like go affiliate network to network.
Yeah.
And this is MSPs actually getting hacked.
So
that's why I brought that up, because this has been an issue for a little while now.
Yeah, so that's basically what I described, is those MSPs have, by virtue of what they do, they have to have access to the customer network. So they're using those existing connections and then deploying ransomware or whatever kind of module they want.
So there's that. And then there's the watering hole method, which is 17% of respondents, where the hacker would put malware on a smaller website, like we're a subsidiary of ADT, and there's multiple websites that they own, for example.
Right.
So putting on one of the smaller ones.
So I will say, yes, watering hole is a perfectly valid tactic for this, but you can use a watering hole for a variety of things. I mean, people will set up malicious sites that may look completely legitimate and are almost all the way through, but will have some kind of dropper in them, and they'll target like system administrators or something. So it'll be like an entire blog, a fake blog about IT administration, looks super legitimate. But so it's looking for a certain audience, and then it's mainly targeting that group of people. So yes, it mentions watering holes, but that term can be applied to a variety of different other types of.
Yeah, if I recall, we had a customer that happened to not too long ago, where they launched like a dozen sites that looked exactly like their sites, and even old versions of their sites.
Yeah,
I feel like you guys are putting me on blast right now.
No, it's good.
When you said fake blog, I had a flashback to 2014 when I was in Portland building niche sites.
Oh.
Testing SEO theories.
Yeah, and there's another category called Chris, where he builds fake blogs.
I mean,
That's a legitimate service.
It is,
pay for that.
It is a real problem. I mean, you guys know this, but I'll bear myself for the listeners. One of the things that I was able to do in my career of building landing pages of websites is you do what's called keyword piggybacking. So you SEO the site, you buy a similar domain. I'll give you an example. If it's we'll pick on Arby's. If it's Arby's isn't a good example. Let's go with AutoZone. A lot of people work for AutoZone. They have a corporate division, right? So AutoZone.com is AutoZone.com. And if you want to access like any of their HR stuff, it would usually be through AutoZone.com, which would probably launch a portal like a Fidelity or something like that.
Right.
Well, what you could do is make like AutoZoneBenefits.com. Okay. Make it look similar to AutoZone. Not exactly the same, but make it look similar. And just SEO it for that keyword. And there's not a lot of people that are going after that, but there's a lot of people that are looking for that. So you're going to be able to rank pretty quick. And then when you're talking about,
By the way, for the listeners, Dave's face is lighted up like this is what we try to stop.
Yeah, this is exactly the kind of tactic that we try to look for.
When the benefits advertising is heavy because it's financial institutions and so on and so forth. So if you're serving Google ads or you're doing CPA type things, you can make it. So I never did it maliciously. It was more of a, hey, how can I rank for niches and how do you figure out what's soft and what's not? And so this was part of what I found out. Oh, this is an easy way you can make some money with ads. Now the malicious guys would then steal their information and then sell it.
And you wouldn't even do that if you got people coming to the site. Just put a malware dropper on there, or a fake login page, and like you said, steal the credentials.
Don't give him ideas. He's selling this as a service.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Well,
I'm not. Just all full disclosure. I don't build those kind of websites anymore. In fact, Google has made it a lot harder over the last 5 years to rank for those. But
give him a browser hijacker that feeds him nothing but pictures of '94 Toyota. What is it? A Range Rover or something like that? Toyota Range Rover? Is that
Toyota 4Runner?
That's not real.
That's not Range Rover.
No. Yeah.
Toyota 4Runner?
Yes, that's what I'm
Land Cruiser you're thinking about.
What was the thing? Your motorhomes, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's not a Range Rover or a Land Cruiser
Toyota
or a
motorhomes.
4Runner.
Yeah.
Does it have wheels?
It has wheels. It has
Depends.
an engine.
Is it on blocks?
I'm in the ballpark.
In the ballpark.
Right.
Yeah, that's anyways, the final point.
Wait, what was the last year they started they made those Toyota
93 or 94, depends on how you ask.
So yeah, most of them are on blocks, Dave. They don't have wheels.
Damn. Man, there's some that are selling for like $50,000. You guys wouldn't even believe some of the restorations.
You got a picture of
done.
these?
Yeah, I'll show you guys.
All right, we need to put that in the podcast notes.
The show notes. Irrelevant motorhome pictures. My point is that any dude.
You only have to go to AutoZoneBenefits.com to view these pictures.
That's probably someone's gonna buy that domain now and put spam on there. My point is that any dude living in Portland, Beaverton specifically on the east side.
Why Beaverton?
I don't know. I had a buddy who lived there. Anyways, that's another story for another podcast. Anybody living in Portland in a 1-bedroom apartment, that was a good sized apartment though, can build websites and do malicious stuff.
Okay, so I got some boxes to check here. Portland, single, what was it? Apartment?
Yeah.
Okay. What was it? There was a fourth one in there.
RV.
Beaverton?
Beaverton.
That's right.
Okay.
Beaverton, Oregon. It's a beautiful town. Wow. It's like Mesa for the valley. Okay. Enough about Portland.
There's a future getting to know you segment about you, Chris. It's coming.
No one, as you guys alluded in the last episode, no one wants to get to know me.
I don't recall saying that exactly.
No one in cybersecurity wants to pick my brain on cybersecurity. Maybe pick my brain on something else. Not yet, at least, guys. I'm learning every day by sitting with you, and I appreciate that. All right, last piece of this: reverse business email compromise. So this is where they take over the email server and then send malware attacks to the from the same. That's kind of a phishing tactic, right? Where you would do that. But, I mean, that's not spoofing though. That's actually taking over the mail server, right?
Yeah. Well, this goes back to a Linux vulnerability that's not really specific to email. It's just it can affect any Linux server that is of a certain version. But yeah, it could affect a email server, right?
Oh, okay. All right, so island hopping, guys, watch out. It's going to be an emerging trend. Let's jump over to headline number 3. Many VMware products affected by SAC, S-A-C-K, Linux vulnerabilities. We messed up, Dave?
I think we messed up. I might have thought you were talking about something different.
Oh, I was just talking about...
Did you go on to the next one or no?
No.
Okay.
I was confused as well, so
okay.
Don't feel bad.
Sorry.
No, yeah, you're good. I heard you say Linux, and I was confused.
Okay, we're talking past each other. Anyway, please continue.
Let's jump over to the Linux one. We're there. Yeah, let's go to the Linux piece. So this is one I brought up because the VMware. So for me, I have a very tacit understanding of what VMware was, what VMware is, and how you can use it. What is it? How can we use it? What do we use it for?
So VMware has a lot of products, but the general gist is virtualization. So you can launch more than one server on one larger piece of hardware, right? So you take a network of servers and you say 3 servers that have a lot of memory and CPU, and you can put 100 servers on there virtually, right? So it's just virtualization of desktops and servers, and they've grown those product sets to do, as this article states, of what's vulnerable, a lot of other pieces of software that they use for cloud and private and public cloud.
Right, and so my first foray into this was getting a VPS, virtual private server. Right. So let me read the quote this is from securityweek.com for the listeners. Many VMware products affected by SAC Linux vulnerabilities. Over 30 VMware products are affected by SAC Panic and SAC slowness, 2 recently disclosed Linux kernel vulnerabilities that can be exploited remotely without authentication for denial of service attacks.
Right. So, to my original point, when I thought we were talking about this,
Let's go back to that. Let's go back to that original. Well, it was a good point. I'm sure.
Sorry. No, all good. This doesn't just affect VMware. This specific vulnerability, it's just saying that many VMware products could be affected by this. So this kind of goes back to a fairly significant vulnerability that was announced for Linux that has to do with the TCP protocol. And to cut a very technical, long story short, I'll try to explain it in layman's terms. So TCP checks to make sure it's called a connection-oriented protocol. So it says person A is sending something to person B, and I want to make sure that person B has received everything that person A thought they were sending. So it will check that and ensure that it has indeed received the entire payload. Now, what can happen is some of these packets will either be dropped, they won't get fully sent, or something will be corrupted. And there needs to be a check in there, and they call that check selective acknowledgement, or just SAC for short. So when you have SAC enabled in TCP, it will say, okay, I don't think I received some of these packets in the message you wanted to send, and it keeps a record of that, and will then go tell the sender, hey, please retransmit all of these packets that I think I missed. And generally that works fine. And that's actually a very important part of how TCP works. But in this case, the vulnerability works by sending, SAC is configured to say, I want a packet size that is like unreasonably small. And the Linux kernel sees that, and it just throws it into an error state. And it can cause a denial of service. Last I read, there was no evidence that this could be used for like remote command injection or anything like that, but it will effectively just like brick the box or cause some kind of hard fail where you have to, bring it down, reboot it, and that's why they're calling it a denial of service. So in this case, some VMware products are affected by that. I think that's the point of the article.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
I don't have anything else to add. That was covered very well.
That was
Okay, great.
very comprehensive. The main things I got out of that were payload and brick the box. Those are the
Payload? Did I say Halo?
payload.
Oh, payload. Yeah.
And brick
Yes,
the
Dave.
box.
This is an ad by Microsoft for Halo.
You got 12-year-old me really excited.
Halo. All right. That brings us, dear listeners, to segment number 3. This is a new segment I like to call Breach of the Week.
Oh, good Lord.
Do it.
So this is, and just disclaimers aside.
What are you going to do on a week where there's no breach?
I'll have to go out and create AutoZoneBenefits.com. I'll have to create that.
As long as you got a plan.
Hey, you guys hear about this breach? AutoZone.
This is weird.
Is a bad one.
Pick this up off of this blog. It's called Cybersecurity.com, bros.org.
It's really nasty.
All right, so this is not to make light of any company. This is just what's up on the news cycle about some sad breaches, but also hopefully some humorous ones. This one, though, is not that humorous. This one's a U.S. Virgin Island kind of double whammy. The police department got hit with a ransomware attack, and the Water and Power Authority got hit with a phishing scheme that, let me look at this number here. It was like 2.3 million in business email compromise. So this is back in April. I'm not sure why it's just popping up now. Do you guys know why it's popping up now?
So it was the breach of the week that week.
Yeah, it's the breach. It's a breach of the week for back in April. This just popped up in news syndication this week. But
you need a new news source.
I need to get a new news source. Did you guys know about this already from back in April? So what's the impact? The ransomware infection corrupted the Virgin Island PD's network servers, making the department unable to access Blue Team and IA Pro programs for several weeks and causing major work disruptions and delays. The backups of the system were also corrupted, causing the departments to install a new centralized version. Interesting.
Yeah. So I think that kind of ends on a positive note. They had some backups and they were able to restore. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It said backups were corrupted. Did you say backups were corrupted?
They were corrupted,
okay.
yeah.
Nah, this is not a positive note.
It's not a positive. It's kind of a sad one.
It's bad.
And then they filed documents in the U.S. District Court, and there's all kinds of issues here. And the Water and Power got hit with a BEC scan. That's what I was talking about when we got our wires crossed there. That was off the aisle hopping island hopping article with a reverse business email compromise, the BEC.
Yeah, really strange. They're able to transfer funds from the bank account out of a water and power utility company, which seems strange to me. That seems like an interesting one to send a like wire transfer scam to.
Just like in the news, we talked about this last week, but you're just going to see more and more public services get hit.
They're soft targets, right?
Yeah.
So what can our agencies, I mean, it's one of our territories, so what can our agencies, if we have any government employees working in IT listening, what can they do? It's patching. We've talked about patching before. Keep your patching cadence from a general security hygiene standpoint.
I mean, this one, the BEC scam, you're not going to be able to do much about that. You're just going to have to train people to not answer scam emails. I mean,
user education,
policy, procedures, right?
Yeah, I think you have to take a hard stance in that regard. If you don't, then the organization is never going to change. If you don't enforce the culture, or if you're trying to change the culture and change it for the positive, you got to take a hard stance. And it doesn't mean you got to just take people out and fire them. I'm not saying that's the solution. I'm saying you have to be prompt with the...
I think we should talk about that, because if you look at the IT person for that, was it Florida, that got fired after the...
Bless you.
Excuse me. Got fired for the paying the ransom.
I would agree in certain circumstances maybe some kind of termination is appropriate. I'm just saying if...
Wait. Are you saying he should be fired because he paid the ransom?
Maybe, yeah.
So the ransom thing's always interesting to me. Like, we're not supposed to negotiate with terrorists, but a lot of these ransomwares are getting paid off. I mean, that means that a lot of people...
If they weren't, they wouldn't keep doing it.
Yeah. That's what I mean. But it means that a lot of them are... They're actually then ceasing to use that information nefariously.
I wouldn't believe that they've stopped. Why would you ever trust them?
That's my issue. Why would you ever trust them? Why would you ever pay? Just let them. I don't know. That's my thing. Is what are they gonna? They're not meeting you face to face to hand you the stolen documents.
Right. How are you ever going to validate that they destroyed what they had? And why would they? They're untouchable. Right. They're across the world. I mean,
what paying a ransomware sounds like to me is some kind of manager or director level person who doesn't want to have this be an issue for their career, have them get fired or damage them, and they just want to pay it and try to keep it hush hush. Is what it sounds like.
That could be a potential. I don't necessarily know that's the case, but
I mean, we can try to theorize, but I think in some cases, if you look at these hospitals, they may have critical systems that are keeping people alive, and maybe or records that are involved in trying to diagnose something.
That was my point. I don't think we know the circumstance deep enough to decide whether that's the right thing or not. Everybody has their own reasoning behind it. Maybe, look, companies do not operate with 100% efficiency, or we wouldn't be having these problems, right? So, it's all circumstantial. We never know what the reasoning behind it is, and it could be unjust. But now that guy's future career is now in jeopardy for it. Just like if you saw a guy's resume that worked at Target, during the breach, you question it a little bit, right? Whether that's right or wrong, which I don't believe that's right, but the average Joe out there may question it, right? And it's not necessarily right.
It's bad optics is what it is. It's just one of those things you can't avoid.
It's like,
but the fact they had to put that out in the news, like, don't worry, we fired him. It's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, I think that's unfortunate.
That's more with our culture now that we want like vigilante style justice.
Yeah, we have the vindictive.
This person said something we don't like, so we want them fired.
Right.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yep. So, all right. Well, that was sad and depressing.
Speaking of which, there's this guy who's making fun of my text messages. I'm gonna have to take care of him.
Hey, I told you I was gonna do that.
All right.
You were warned.
So let's lift our spirits a little bit. We're getting close here to the end of the show, but we have one last segment for you guys, and we're gonna we're winging this, guys. So we're hoping that we nail them all. We're probably gonna miss a bunch, but we're gonna try to cover some of the most ridiculous cybersecurity slogans and buzzwords we've heard recently. Now I got a working list for you guys of 21 sort of ones that popped up to my head right off the top of the bat. From me being you're all good, don't worry. I got a shock mount for you, brother. ones that have popped up on my radar that kind of make me laugh. I know you guys have more. So what do we want to do? You want me to read the list down and you guys want to comment on it? Do you guys want to add, interject, just free flow it?
Sure.
Okay. So number one, this is probably not the best one to start with, but this one always gets me. World class has been used forever. I've heard world class, but this one I've heard recently. I think it's more of a corporate speak, like you used to say pivot a lot or synergy. I'm hearing this all the time. Synergize. I'm hearing best in breed. We have best in breed MDR service.
Got some good horses and they're winning those races.
I was going to say, I didn't know this was a horse farm.
Yeah, it definitely makes me think of horses.
Yeah.
Are you guys cool with that? Does that bump you? It bumps me a little bit.
And it annoys me just a little bit, but
I never use that term.
It wouldn't be my first choice.
I like being trendy and using words. So I've started to say it because I want to seem like, hey man, I'm saying best in breed, and it's been very effective. So people are like, oh, best in breed.
Who's it been effective with?
People in my personal life, I've been saying it at home. I've been like, oh man,
your kids?
Yeah, but this is a best in breed.
Best in breed.
This is how you convince your wife to let you buy things.
Yeah,
is that it?
This is a best in breed. No, I'll talk about like the podcast console. This is a best in breed digital audio converter. Be like, ooh, best in breed. I don't know.
Do we have a best in breed podcast?
Yes. The answer is yes. All right, best in breed. Number two.
Hey, wait. Guess who's best in breed?
Who?
My boss.
Oh my God. Hold on.
Moving on.
All right, I had to throw it in there because I made fun of his text messages. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I got the right sound effect for once.
That was good.
Oh, there we go. Right on cue. All right. Pretty soon I'm going to be putting you guys on this board. It's going to be real
I think
confusing.
2 and 3 you kind of got to read together, so you might as well just read them together.
2 and 3. So these are acronyms. So SOC and ASOC, which I know, Dave, you love it. I said ASOC and you cringed.
It's bad.
So those stand for Security Operations Center or Advanced Security Operations Center. And then also the really common term in the industry right now, which is SOC as a service, SOC as service, or SOC as a service. And then also it's been abbreviated to SOCaaS.
We also heard MSOC today. So
MSOC, yeah.
MSOC for managed
these
SOC.
terms are your flavor of the week. Like, hey, let's try to make our SOC sound better than yours. So we're gonna coin some new terms here.
People love saying SaaS, like software as a service.
I hate it. Why do they say that?
People love saying, they go, ooh, yeah, we're working SaaS. We're working SaaS over here. Yeah, we have a SaaS. We're scaling a SaaS. Yep, that's what we're doing. Yeah, we got a SaaS. We're gonna go to the cloud. SaaS. They love saying it.
I think I hate it even more after you said it that many times.
We're just gonna call it security as a cloud.
Security as a cloud. I mean, we got a SOC. We got super smart dudes in there that are trained in how to work with your stuff and monitor your stuff. Why don't you just come hire us? Like that should be but we have to put it in a capsule, right? Yeah. SOC as a service.
Everything's a slogan now. So, I've started saying sock in a box and I hate myself for saying that.
Sock in a box. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the next one.
I don't like it.
Okay. The next one is one that I'm trying to wrestle with myself with branding from a branding standpoint is Cybersecurity Resilience Platform.
I think we used that last year.
I think that's actually fine.
I think it's okay too.
Yeah.
I had a problem with it at first, and then I'm like, well, really, how else are you going to describe, if someone's putting together an architecture and they got to look at the tools and solutions they got to put in place.
Yeah.
How do you encapsulate it? Well, that to me makes sense. Also,
I feel like number 5 is a dig on me.
It's not, because I took out myself on number 6. Well, maybe it is. Number 6, I got myself back.
That's true.
But for also too, just so you guys know, did you know that cybersecurity, obviously you've seen it hyphenated, you've seen it all one word, you've seen it 2 words. Did you know that as a 2-word combination, it gets searched 3 times as much as a 1-word combination?
I don't
on
believe
Google.
I still say it's one
wait,
word.
Hold up. Say it again.
I was doing some research today. So cybersecurity, I've seen it 2 words.
I've
seen it 1
like
word.
cybersecurity,
Cyberspace security.
Cyberspace security gets, you said 3 times more?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so cyberspace security, there's cyber-security,
right,
which gets less because people don't want to type hyphen. It's in a weird spot in the keyboard. And then
I don't think that's why, but
well, it's in an inconvenient spot.
Yeah, it's slower.
Yeah, slower. And then you have cyber. Also, there's the autocorrect function too, or the autocorrect. Google suggestions.
Right.
So the cyberspace security gets searched more often.
Interesting.
So you guys know that.
And the reason he brings that up is because we had a huge argument with Collateral at one point where it's like half our collateral had a space, half didn't. We said, all right, we got to pick one. Which one is it? And there was a big argument that ensued.
I actually don't mind one together. Okay, so number 5, Cyber-hygiene. That was kind of but you say it, but I've heard other people write about it in blog posts.
I feel like people are stealing it from me. I take credit.
Do you feel like you originated that?
I've been saying that for years.
Okay, so you're the godfather of cyber-hygiene.
Whether it is or not, I'm going with it.
I'm actually comfortable with cyber-hygiene. I say it all the time now. Dave?
I am ambivalent toward it.
Ambivalent.
Wash your firewalls, Dave.
Ambivalent,
good hygiene.
he says.
We got cyber fitness.
Cyber fitness.
You know that didn't show up on any terms. That was Chris.
Cyber fitness.
I didn't just make that up. I read that in the news article from last week, and I'm like, ooh, this is going to be a new one. How do we feel about that one? Is that one going to catch on?
I feel like number 7 should be cyber diet. I mean, we're just going right down the list here.
There you go.
What's your cyber diet? What is that?
Well, we got hygiene. Fitness,
Oh man,
diet.
we're totally using that now.
Hey, you should say that in talking to a prospect. We really focus on evaluating your cyber diet, and then they can say, what the hell does that mean? All right, on the next one. You guys good?
Yep, we're good.
Yeah.
Cyber
right.
posture.
Posture.
I like posture.
Do you slouch? Is your firewall looking a little flabby?
Let us come into our clinic and let's adjust your cyber posture.
How's your cyber spine?
A cyber crack.
Just slip a disc.
Now you can have cyber practors.
Cyberpractor. That's good. That's solid, man. All right, we got.
Just so everybody knows, I'm the first cyber practor.
That's 3 a.m. commercial level term coining.
That's 80 million events left on this
Cyberpractors.
sim. You got to change out these tabs. That's that level
Yeah.
of hilariousness. Yeah.
That's
good.
commercial number 3.
Cyber
Okay.
practors. That's good.
Cyberpractors. So how about risk profile and risk index?
I'm fine with risk profile because I understand it and it makes sense to me. Risk index, I feel like
That's
it
an-
also makes sense if you're
Yeah.
scoring it somehow. Yeah.
Okay. What about alert overload? Overload.
Overlords.
Alert overload and alert fatigue.
Yep.
Those are used a lot.
Yep.
Those are fine,
both
right?
real, both. Yeah, they're fine.
I just put this one, three letter agencies.
This is a popular one around
I've
here.
heard that thrown a ton around.
How do you sound legitimate? 3-letter agencies.
It's like, why do we do that instead of just say, FBI, NSA, da, da, da. Why do we have to say,
I think there's like this element of secret squirrel where like you don't want to say what it is because if you say what it is, it's less impressive than if you just left it in the dark.
it's like a candy man?
Is it? You really think so? If I said, hey, I worked in this NSA or I worked for a 3-letter agency, you think one sounds better than the other?
I do because I think if you say I worked for a 3-letter agency, you're implying that it's so secret you can't even tell them the letters in the agency.
It's some
The XYZ.
Yeah.
unknown, like Splinter Cell level, Sam
Right.
Fisher level
Yeah.
agency. Okay.
We do have a guy here we call Jack Ryan.
Jack Ryan. Yeah.
We'll have to have Jack Ryan on the podcast one
We
day.
need, now that we have the new console, guys, we really need to make an effort. We were supposed to have a guest on by now.
Yeah.
We need to make an effort soon. Either have a guest in studio or a guest.
Does he have to be from a
On the
3-letter
phone.
agency?
It'd be nice.
Okay.
It'd be, if possible.
I work for one. It's called
There-
the DOD.
And there we go. All right. The next one is one that I heard a gentleman, I won't call him out, but I heard him say this about 3 times in about 30 seconds, and it stuck out in my brain after that. Defense and it's someone you guys both know, but not doesn't work at this office. Defense in depth.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
Yeah, that's
That's
actually
been something that's been used forever.
Okay.
It is everywhere in the DoD. They hammer it into your brain, and it just means like multiple layers of defense. Like
Right.
there's some density to the level of protection that you have.
Got it. So that one's cool. We're good with
Yeah,
that
no,
one.
that's a good one.
All right. It stuck out to me. I'm like, he said that 3 times in 30 seconds. That must be
3
really
times in
important.
30 seconds, that might be a little bit much.
A little aggressive. Okay. And then the next 4 are kind of like machine learning, AI, automation, orchestration. Actually, let's put orchestration by the side. Machine learning, AI, automation. Those are buzzwords now.
I think if you want more funding or you want to sound cool, you throw those words in anywhere.
No matter what you do.
Yeah. That's another infomercial right there.
Machine learning, AI. It's like the Step Brothers thing where last week we put liquid paper on a bee and it died. Like one of those kind of things.
What is this?
You ever seen Step Brothers?
Oh, a long time ago.
Prestige Worldwide. Okay. No,
I got you.
You got me. Just got me. All right. The next one's orchestration.
I roll my eyes every time I hear this. I know it's a real thing. I know it's important to some organizations, but every time someone's like, well, what do you do about orchestration? I'm just like, oh, God. Now we got to explain orchestration to somebody.
It's a buzzword.
Yeah, it's a buzzword.
Moving on.
Okay. Cybercast.
I do not see this one used all the time. Is that what this is? Is this a Cybercast? No.
Did
we hit a Chris Hot button?
That one popped up. I have a pet peeve against very bland naming of things. That's why our show's called the Hashtime Show, because it's fun and different.
Cybercast sounds like a rejected title.
Yes, there's definitely a podcast out there called Cybercast. I'm sure of it. There's a lot of people are calling that their webcast, Cybercast. How do we feel about the cheesy? So like I'm doing the website right now, and some of the stuff we had on the old website was like, it was stuff like, it was like for the industries like healthcare, and it would say like, we got to wrap it up, Jeff.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's pump through this then. We'll say that for another time. Market guide. We're good with that. It's pretty straightforward.
Yep.
Red team, blue team, purple team. Quick little 15 second.
I think we've already had this conversation in depth.
We need to have an episode about the purple team.
Okay. And then here's my last one for you guys. Counter threat unit.
If they're busting down doors, they're not doing it.
That doesn't mean anything, right? That's just a fake word you put up on a website. Okay.
It means there's a threat and you counter it?
Yeah. Sounds like
Wouldn't that be called a hacker?
Sounds like they're breaking down a door, taking names.
I think we should build one. As the chief hacking officer,
after that
I deem that we have offensive security.
Yeah, and after that story you told us, we'll get some of the Scottsdale PD. We'll get an affiliation there.
Yeah.
That probably won't happen. All right. Well, guys, we're running over time now. We appreciate you tuning back into the Hashtime Show. This has been Chris, Dave, and Jeff. Episode number 10. We'll catch you next week.
Synergize.
Cool.
Thank you for listening to the Hashtime Show. Check us out online at hashtimeshow.com.